With the trade deadline now in the rearview mirror, it is all hands on deck here for the second half of the season. Our Broncos have won a couple games in a row. We're riding high, sitting in a record of 4-5, traveling to Philadelphia, facing up against an Eagles team who also sits at 4-5. And with that being the case, this really feels like a must-win game for both teams if they want to stay alive within their respective conferences' playoff hunts. We've also got a prospect profile today. We'll be going over the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends in this year's draft class. We're coming off a really exciting win against the Chargers, 28-21, with a game-winning touchdown of 78 yards from Bo Nix to the undrafted rookie Savion Williams with under 30 seconds left to go. However, this game did come with a casualty. Our standout rookie running back, Ashton Jeanty, tore his pec, and he is done for the rest of the season. A major loss with how good he has been, averaging nearly 80 yards per game from scrimmage, second in the NFL in rushing touchdowns, only behind Josh Jacobs. He's been so good for this team, and not having him out there is going to be a huge deal. Javonte Williams does come back healthy this week, and we signed Zamir White in free agency. So we're hoping those guys will be able to lighten the load. As we look at this prospect profile, obviously the storyline with the Jets pick is that we own it. We currently have the number one pick in this year's draft, thanks to the draft day trade that we made last year with the Jets for them to move up and acquire Jalen Milroe with the third overall pick. As they continue to lose, our pick is going to continue to be higher. In the most recent mock draft, it had us picking Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, rather than a quarterback or an offensive player, which would surprise me given A, it's a really good quarterback class, and we could just go that route. But if we don't, offense is the need on this team. We need offensive line, and we need weapons. So we're probably going to draft a few of the players we go over today, given that this skill position group needs a lot more juice. And that starts with the running back position. Definitely not as good of a running back class as last year, but I think last season was really an anomaly. And this year's running back class is a lot more normal, per se. I think it's fair to say that we nailed the selection of Ashton Jeanty, and assuming he's able to return fully healthy from his pectoral injury next season, we've got ourselves a long-term starting running back on the roster. But in today's modern NFL, you need at least 2 or 3 good running backs on the roster, and I think these next 8 games will really tell us if we have a complete backfield behind Ashton Jeanty. Of course, Javonte Williams is a solid veteran. He had a pretty good season when healthy last year, and it'll be nice to have him back in the lineup after being injured since week 4. But he is going to be 26 next year. He's going to be on the older side at the running back position. There's also Harrison Whaley, who's given us some good flashes, along with Audric Estime, who's only 21 years old. So maybe we do have some of the long-term pieces behind Ashton Jeanty already on the roster, and we're certainly going to have more clarity as we see how these guys play over the next 8 weeks. But at the very least, it wouldn't hurt to do some due diligence. I think it's fair to say we're not going to draft a running back early this year, but I do want to look at the guys at the top, and we'll start with Nick Singleton out of Penn State. Look at this run in the Nebraska game. We talked about this play in the Kansas dynasty. He broke literally about 5 tackles there. Singleton, a former 5-star high school recruit, has lived up to the billing. And if we compare him with Darius Taylor, who is the second projected running back in this class, Taylor's production is a little bit better, but NFL teams prefer the upside of Singleton because of his dynamite explosiveness. This is somebody who's unbelievably fast, unbelievably quick. They feel that he's got a little bit more juice as opposed to Darius Taylor, and that gives him a higher long-term ceiling, factored in with the fact that he is a very productive player in his own right. But he has not been as good as Darius Taylor this year, and no running back across the country has been on his level. Taylor started his collegiate career in Minnesota, transferred to Michigan this offseason to replace Donovan Edwards, and if anything, he's been an upgrade. And that says something because Edwards led the NCAA in rushing a year ago. Taylor is most likely to win college football's rushing title this season. Now, it's not a foregone conclusion that he will enter this year's draft, and going into the year, it was assumed that he was going to spend 2 years up in Ann Arbor. But with how well he's performed this year, there's a much better chance he does enter the NFL. And as I mentioned, he's been the most productive running back in the country this year. nearly 135 rushing yards per game, 18 touchdowns. He just doesn't have the quickness, per se, and the launch speed that Nick Singleton does, but he's probably a little bit more consistent as a pure runner. In his 10 games this year, 8 of them have gone for at least 100 rushing yards. And then Ruben Owens is also in this group of the RB1 conversation. Another highly regarded recruit. His career started up and down, but I think he's really become a lot more consistent over the last year or so with Texas A&M. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He really checks off all the boxes. Now, he shares a backfield with senior Le'Veon Moss, who's also a projected top 100 pick in this year's draft. And Moss has been the go-to guy. Owens has been the change of pace back. But as we look at his numbers and we look at his skill set, NFL teams really see a starter with him, especially when you factor in how impressive he's been through the air. A&M's used him a lot as a receiver this year where he's been quite good. As we look at this third-round group, Rydell Williams, tiny but compact, physical runner out of Florida State. He is 24 years old already, though. Gavin Sawchuk from Oklahoma, really fun player to watch. This is somebody who is lightning fast. He had a huge offseason this year of development for his overall rating, but it hasn't really affected his production. He's been basically the same player that he was last year, which is a little bit odd. Nonetheless, this is somebody who can turn any play into a big one, someone who's got home run type upside, but the question is, can he be a true bell cow workhorse running back? And I'm not sure the answer to that is yes. He's only 5'11", around 200 pounds. Could look to add some more weight, add some more strength, and if he does, then maybe he can be a true RB1. Le'Veon Moss, we touched on him. He's had a strong season this year with Texas A&M. What about Sade Clayton Johnson of Tulane? He's mostly been a reserve in his career with the Blue Wave, but with Mekhi Hughes declaring early for last year's draft, he's finally gotten the opportunity to start after being patient, and he has taken it and run. Quite literally. He's had a phenomenal season this year at Tulane, a big reason why they've been one of the better Group 5 teams in the nation, even with the loss of Mekhi Hughes and the fact that their starting quarterback from last year, Ty Thompson, hasn't played this year due to NIL disputes. 14 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, good size at 6'1", 205, impressive athletic abilities. Now, he's an older prospect himself, though, 24 years old. He's been at Tulane for 6 years now, and it took him this long to break out, which is a little concerning. Into day 3, got some small school guys like Barnes and Mahdi, but I want to look at C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia. This dude is a Mack truck, 6'2", 240, will put opposing defenders on their backside like it is nothing. Now, the question with him is, will he be more than a short yardage back? Because, yes, this is somebody who's got unbelievable power, unbelievable strength, but as you would expect with somebody of his size, he doesn't necessarily have elite explosiveness, elite big play ability, and so I think he's going to be more of a specialty back in the league. But I think that's fine for day 3 of the draft. When you can get somebody with a strong specialty, I think that's a good use of the 4th-round pick. Of course, there's Savion Morrison. We know him from the Kansas series. Good size, good explosiveness, having a strong season with the Jayhawks. But I want to look at somebody from the rival. Dylan Edwards of Kansas State. He's a fascinating prospect. He's tiny, 5'9", 170, and the question with him is pretty similar to C.J. Donaldson. Can he be a full-time RB1, workhorse, bell cow back? But for the opposite reasons. He has the big play ability. He's great running in space, but he's not necessarily some strong, physical, between-the-tackles runner. You probably recognize his name from his freshman season at Colorado, where he really turned some eyeballs. Transfers to Kansas State, was used as a reserve last year, but with the injury to DJ Giddens, he's become the starter. And considering how high his overall rating has been, he's kind of disappointed a little bit. And I feel like there's some meat left on the bone with him. DJ Giddens was a little bit more productive last year, but he has spent most of this season injured. Behind those guys, deep down the board, I think the name to watch might be Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, another smaller guy with a lot of speed, a lot of explosiveness as we move to wide receiver. And I've made it very clear that receivers are a pretty big need on this roster. Trading away Cortland Sutton certainly signifies that even more, but even if he was still here, it's obvious this team needs some more pass catchers. Tez Johnson, drafted in the 5th round, has been terrific this year, but other than him, we really haven't had consistent production from the wide receiver position. Now, it will be nice having Marvin Mims coming back this week. He's been hurt since week 4. But regardless, this team needs a true alpha wide receiver 1. And as much as I like Marvin Mims and Tez Johnson, I don't know if either of those guys are true wide receiver 1s. This team needs its Jamar Chase, it's Justin Jefferson, it's A.J. Brown, somebody who can take over a game. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if there's that type of player in this class. It is a weaker group at receiver compared to previous seasons. Now, there are some guys I like. We'll start with Noah Thomas from Texas A&M. Last week, he broke his fibula and is done for the year, but I still think he'll be the wide receiver 1 of this class. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's tall, but he's wired sort of slim. But nonetheless, he does know how to play big. He's a physical receiver who's also good in space, really solid route runner, good hands. This is somebody who really popped on my radar early last season. I think he had a 4-touchdown game, and this was a guy I decided to keep my eye on, and I became really impressed with. And I kind of thought he'd be a guy who I would like a lot as a 3rd or 4th round prospect. But as I really look at his skill set, and other NFL scouts do as well, they see a 1st rounder with him, and I completely get it, given his size, speed, and production over the last 2 seasons with the Aggies, and there's a real argument for him to be wide receiver 1. However, that's not a foregone conclusion, though, because the year that Jeremy Bernard has had at USC may very well pass Thomas. In terms of production, well, Jeremy Bernard has been arguably the best player in the country this year. He's had a ridiculous season transferring to USC. He was in the Heisman race for most of the year. He's dropped out towards the end. But his quarterback, Miller Moss, is going to win the award largely because of his production. Now, Bernard's a fascinating case because he has speed ran the transfer portal. He's been in college for 4 years, and he's played at a different school each season. Last year, he was at Alabama with Jalen Milroe, had a really good season there. And with Milroe not playing all that well in the NFL so far, you can easily make the argument that Jeremy Bernard elevates his quarterbacks. He elevated Jalen Milroe at Alabama. Maybe he's doing that with Miller Moss here at USC. What does that say about Jeremy Bernard? If he's elevating those guys at the collegiate level, what's to say he won't do it in the NFL? And if that's the case, he probably should end up being the first receiver off the board. As of now, these are the only 2 receivers projected in the 1st round, but that very well could change. And I think J. Michael Sturdivant from TCU sits atop the list, a transfer from UCLA. Sturdivant brings the prototypical size, length, and athleticism you look for at the receiver position in today's NFL. 6'3", 205, 4.4 speed, and the production has been really good this year with the Horned Frogs. We got a first-hand look at him in the most previous episode of the Kansas Dynasty, and I came away really impressed. I think he had 8 catches for over 120 yards. He was really good in that game, and this is an emerging player who's gotten better and better throughout his collegiate career. Very linear development, and I think that could persuade a team to choose him in the 1st round. Barian Brown from Kentucky is one of the most fun players in this class. He is lightning with the ball in his hands. But the question is, can he be more than a pure gadget guy in the NFL? Can he be a legitimate receiver? And given his ability to get open, run routes, and separate off of corners, I think the answer is yes. I think this is somebody who will have enough physicality to play on the outside, especially if he gains some more strength and muscle. But I think given the fact that he is that good with the ball in his hands and he knows how to get open, those are 2 things you really need as a receiver, and he is a master at each of them. Evan Stewart is up next, coming from Oregon. The senior is a fascinating story because we talked about him in last year's wide receiver prospect profile because I assumed he was going to enter the draft last year. This time a season ago, he was one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy. He was the best receiver in the country, wide receiver 1 in the 2025 draft, but he wasn't that good during the second half of last season, and I was worried that that was going to be a trend for him. I said he should declare for the draft, be a 1st rounder, and see what happens. Well, he decided to stay in school, and my worst fears came true. Now, he's not having a bad season per se, but he has not looked the part of a 1st-round receiver, and teams are unsure if that 6-game stretch from last year was a flash in the pan, or if he's just not being used right, or what. There's a lot of questions with him, but the talent is undeniable. Down the board a little bit, Kendrick Law from Alabama maybe the fastest player in this entire draft class. Legitimate 4.2 speed. The question with him, though, is similar to that of Barrion Brown from Kentucky. Will he be more than somebody you get the ball to within 5 yards and try to manufacture space for him to make plays after the catch? I don't think he's as good of a pure receiver as Brown is, but I do think he can win on the outside at the collegiate level, and I think he's got the chance to in the NFL. Zariah Beeson from Troy is one of the bigger wild cards for me in this draft. A small school guy who's going to be 24 years old next year, but man, is this kid good. He has scored 40% of the time he's gotten the ball this year. Let me say that again. 40% of his touches. He has finished the play with a touchdown. I don't care what level of competition you're playing. That's impressive. This kid is unbelievable after the catch, but he's not some super small guy who, again, is a pure gadget player. 6 foot, 200 pounds, has the physicality to win on the outside, and he's not a one-year wonder. He was quite good last year as well, and then this season he's completely exploded with 22 receiving touchdowns. He's going to be nearing some all-time records with those numbers. A fascinating player and somebody who I think has the chance to be great at the next level. Down the board, Donovan Green, 25 years old next season, 7 years at Wake Forest. He's been inconsistent, but teams think he has very translatable skills. Dylan Bell from Georgia, he's had a pretty good season despite the quarterback inconsistency. But the guy in this range I want to talk about is Tobias Merriweather from Cal. For the teams who really like Noah Thomas from Texas A&M and ultimately miss out on him, I think Tobias Merriweather is your consolation prize because he's built very similarly. He's tall, he's skinny, but he can play bigger. He has physicality despite being pretty slim at around 6'5", maybe not even 200 pounds. I'd say around 195. Also, much like Noah Thomas, he has impressive athleticism, impressive speed. He's got pretty good hands, solid route runner. Now, I don't think his short area quickness is all that impressive, though. I think this is somebody who really specializes as a deep threat and really isn't that great in the short to intermediate game. But he's somebody who can stretch the field vertically as a true deep threat, and I think around pick 100, he'd be pretty solid value. L.J. Williams, small school guy from Fordham, he's talented. Jaden Gibson has broken out for Oklahoma. I want to talk about Corey Rucker, though. I think he's the name to watch at this Day 3 group from Arkansas State. Really fascinating story. He started his career with the Red Wolves, and he played really well. He decided to transfer up, going to South Carolina, where things just really didn't work out. He didn't really win a big role, and he decided to transfer back to Arkansas State, where he's been terrific over the last 3 seasons. His production was arguably a little bit better in 2024, but he has still been fantastic this season, likely looking at around 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns, really good player. And again, small school guy, question marks about the competition level that he's playing against, but he's a good player. Down the board even more, Juice Wells from Ole Miss, another 25-year-old, had his best collegiate season in 2021 and hasn't really figured it out since. 2021, that was a while ago. Tron Grizzle from Utah State, the Cal transfer, having a really good season. Very good player. He's just slow. That's really the only weakness with him, but he is really slow. Xavion Thomas from LSU, the complete opposite. Dynamic athlete. Kyon Grays, former top 100 recruit at Ohio State. He's turned into a solid player at Cal. One of my favorite players in this draft is Georgetown's Jimmy Kibble. That is a real person. You can Google it. That is his actual name. Horatio Fields from Wake Forest is having a really good year, and then we get to the Kansas guys. Joseph Manjack and Moody Rubin have played really well over the last few weeks. Both of them are fringe draft guys right now, but if they keep up the way they've looked over recent weeks, those guys are going to move up the board. Moody Rubin in particular coming off a 260-yard game against TCU. As for the tight end class, I think it's a great group here. Even though the running back and wide receiver crop is a little bit weaker this year, the tight end class is loaded. And that's great because, well, we need a tight end. The Greg Dulcich experiment is blowing up quickly. He has had another not-so-good season. At least he's stayed healthy, though. Progress. We haven't really gotten much else out of the other tight ends. We're probably going to give Rivaldo Fairweather the 6th rounder from a year ago, more playing time, but I'm not sure if he's the long-term answer there. Would not be surprised to see us pick a tight end early in this class at all, and maybe that's Oscar Delp out of Georgia in the first round. 6'5", 245, really impressive athlete, really great production over the last 2 seasons. He has replaced Brock Bowers seemingly at Georgia, and teams can only hope that he's going to be as good as Brock Bowers entering the NFL. If you're looking for a weakness with his game, he's a pretty bad blocker. The other tight ends in this class are better blockers than him, but he's a terrific receiving threat, by far the best of the tight ends in this group, and that says something because, again, I think this is one of the deepest tight end classes we've seen in quite some time. There are probably 5 or 6 quality starters here, and I think Aronde Gadsden II from Syracuse is going to be one of them. 6'4", maybe 6'5". He's a little bit slimmer, though, 223 pounds. But even though when you look at him, you probably think wide receiver, he is a tight end. He's a good blocker, despite the fact that he's a little bit skinny. He's a really impressive athlete, very solid production as the starter over the last 3 seasons for Syracuse, and I think most years he'd probably be tight end 1. But with Oscar Delp here, he gets pushed down the board a little bit. Another guy I like in the second round is John Michael Geilenborg out of Wyoming. Very fun name to say. A small school guy who has played really well for the Cowboys over the last couple of seasons. Even though he plays in the Mountain West for Wyoming, this is a true NFL caliber athlete. A little bit inconsistent as a route runner. Not a great separator, but he's got good hands, good blocker, and as I mentioned, the traits are really impressive. The production's also been quite good over the last 2 seasons as well. Jack Velling, a multi-time transfer, is up next. He was at Oregon State, followed Jonathan Smith to Michigan State, but last offseason transferred to Oregon in an effort to replace Terrence Ferguson. And I would argue he's been a little bit better than Ferguson, hence why he's going to get drafted earlier. Ferguson was picked early in round 4 last year by the Chiefs. I think Velling's probably going to go a full round ahead. 6'5", 250 pounds, good route runner, good hands, solid blocker. He really checks off all the boxes and doesn't have many major weaknesses to his game. The numbers are a little bit down from a year ago, but that's largely because Oregon has so many good receivers to throw the ball to that naturally his role is a little bit less than it would have been at Michigan State, where there aren't as many cooks in the kitchen. Roberto Miranda, the native of Berlin, Germany, is up next. Really good player over the last 2 seasons. Somebody who wasn't a super highly regarded high school player, wasn't super productive prior to the 2024 season, but this guy has just flat out produced over the last 2 seasons for Arizona. I think he's got good traits. I think he's got a good all-around skill set, and because of that, I think we're probably looking at a top 100 pick with him. And if this tight end class wasn't so deep, I think there's a better chance he ends up possibly in the second round. Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green State is a very fun player in his own right. 6'4", around 235 pounds. I'd like to see him gain a little bit more weight, but I do really like his skill set. Another small school guy playing in the MAC, former 1-star prospect, but I think he's quite good. Impressive athlete, pretty good blocker, really good hands. He does not drop passes. A little bit inconsistent as a route runner, though, but I think given how little he drops the ball and his ability to make plays stretching the field, I think, again, you're looking at probably another top 100 pick. And then as we look at the crop on day 3, for me, I think R.J. Maryland is the name to watch here from SMU. He has become one of Preston Stone's most reliable targets for the Mustangs. 6'4", 233. He has had a really solid season, really solid couple of years at SMU. And this is somebody who I feel like really checks off all the boxes. Another guy who really doesn't have many weaknesses to his game. I think the floor is pretty high with him in the 4th round, but given his traits, there's no reason to think he can't be a pretty good NFL starter down the line. Below him, you've got Lake McCree from USC. Really good last year. He's been not as good, but still quite strong this year. Mason Taylor out of LSU, the son of NFL Hall of Famer Jason Taylor. Very high traits. Started his career off really well with the Tigers. Hasn't been as good since. And then I think the gem to watch is Amari Niblack from Texas. The production really hasn't been there, but I was really impressed watching him in the playoff last year. He had some really good moments and some really good games. And if he can just be a little bit more consistent, I think you're looking at a possible stud. Overall, it's a fun group of skill position players. Again, the running backs and receivers in this class, not as good as last year, but still some quality prospects. And then the tight end class, really, really good. You would have to think the Broncos would certainly be in the market for one. Let's now dissect this matchup here on the road at Lincoln Financial Field against the Philadelphia Eagles, who, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, are really in the exact same spot that we are. 4-5 on the outside looking in of the playoff race, and 4-6 is a very steep hill to climb. Both teams know they've really got to win this game. Both teams are coming off of byes as well, and wins before the bye. Philadelphia most recently beating Chicago 20-10. The Eagles have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL, but there's one position where they're very depleted at. Jalen Hurts has had a solid season. He is, of course, one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL, but they will be without star running back Saquon Barkley, who suffered a season-ending elbow injury. The backup, Will Shipley, is also hurt, so Lou Nichols, the 65 overall in his third year out of Central Michigan, is the only healthy running back on the roster. That's a problem. Their receiver room is fully healthy, though, led by A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They've got a few really good rookies. Of course, Terry McLaurin, acquired in the offseason. And then the defense is really solid as well. Jalen Carter, the man in the middle. Some young pieces on the outside at corner with Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean in the slot, and also one of the best offensive lines in the NFL as well. I've gotten some questions over the last few episodes about where my gameplay sliders are at, so I've been meaning to show them. These are the sliders I used today. All-Pro, simulation, 10-minute quarters. Let's get this show on the road here at the Link. The 4-5 Denver Broncos looking to add to the win streak, make it 3 in a row, and really give ourselves a chance at sneaking into a wild card spot. The Eagles are thinking the same thing, though. Now, they'll be without Saquon Barkley. They're going to need Jalen Hurts to win this game with his arm. Will he be able to do that? Let's find out as Philadelphia starts with the ball. Play action. Hurts looks deep. He's picked off. Second play of the game. Riley Moss comes down with the interception, and Denver forces a turnover not even a minute into this one. Moss does a good job of high-pointing the football as Hurts was looking for A.J. Brown, who's known for his physicality, known for his ability to make jump ball catches, but not that time. Offense with it. First play of the drive. Welcome back, Marvin Mims. It's a gain of 34 yards. We have really missed him. The connection between Bo Nix and Marvin Mims has been fun to watch over the last couple of seasons, and it has certainly been missed over the last month or so. Whaley, what a move! How did he get like 12 yards there? We have gone through the full roller coaster Harrison Whaley experience. In his first game, he obviously played really well against the Chiefs. Last week against the Chargers, he had a drop and a fumble. Not so good, as Thomas Booker is in for the sack, bringing Bo Nix down at the 13-yard line. Denver with it in the red zone, looking to score first, is on 3rd and goal. Nix under pressure, hit as he throws, and he throws it into the head of one of his offensive linemen. So already, Bo Nix seems to be under a lot of early pressure, which isn't ideal, but such has been the course of this season. The field goal try from Will Lutz is good, and Denver is on the board first. They lead 3-0. So now the Eagles offense returns at the 39. Here is Lou Nichols losing 3. The former Eagle, Jordan Davis, brings him down. It's a revenge game for Davis against his former squad of 3 years. 3rd and 11. Hurts looks to throw it under pressure, and he will run out of the sack. Scrambles for a couple of yards, but only gets 1 as he's tackled by Drew Sanders. That was Baron Browning who really blew that play up, forcing the pressure in the backfield as the Eagles have to punt it away, and Denver has a 3rd and 3. Javonte Williams up the middle, does not get it. Reed Blankenship brings him down, able to get some space in between the offensive line, and on 4th and short, Denver punts it away. It's too early to get that bold, and so that'll wrap up the first quarter. 3-0 lead here for the Broncos. I feel like every week after the first quarter, it's very low scoring. Our offense does not start games off well. That's something we've got to do better at. But on the flip side, our defense always begins games on a strong note. We'll see if we can keep that going. 2nd and 8. It's the 3rd-string tight end, Grant Calcaterra, who brings it to the 42, sitting behind Dallas Goedert and the rookie out of Notre Dame, Mitchell Evans, on the depth chart, but he's the one who makes the play there. From the 42, Hurts now alone at the backfield as Lou Nichols lines out wide. Hurts goes short. Nichols hangs on, gets by Bossa, and is flipped over by Brandon Jones, but not before getting the first down. Fake jet sweep under pressure. It's the rookie out of Georgia, Mykel Williams, in the backfield, forcing a loss of around 8. The Eagles know a thing or two about drafting Georgia players. For Williams, that's his 5th sack of the year. He's really starting to come along after a slow start. 3rd and long now. Hurts looks to throw it under pressure. Hit as he throws. It's caught by Nichols, and he's quickly tackled there by Drew Sanders. A lot of pressure in the backfield. John Franklin Myers leads the way, and that'll bring out the field goal team. 45-yard try for Jake Elliott is up and through, and so this game is tied at 3. Let's see if the Denver offense can retaliate, look to regain the lead, as it is a first down from the 26. Nix looks to throw it under pressure, scrambles to the left side, has some space, gets the first down as he slides for a gain of 13. Bro thinks he's Clyde Poole. Now, unfortunately, he does not have Clyde speed, but that was a good scramble. 3rd and 4 now. Screen is dropped by Whaley. Back-to-back weeks for Harrison Whaley. He's had an easy catch that just slips out of his hands, and the Eagles get it back. 2nd and 5, under pressure. Intercepted! Chris Abrams drained. Nobody's in front of him. Walks the red carpet for a pick 6. And the first touchdown of the game is a defensive score. Denver breaks open the door and takes the lead. Chris Abrams drained with the interception, but the guy I really want to give credit to here is Nick Bonito. He sent the pressure, forcing the errant throw by Jalen Hurts. It's way off, and Chris Abrams drain makes a nice play on the ball. But Bonito continuing to wreck games. The AFC Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner for a reason. What a season Nick Bonito is having, and it has made this entire defense drastically better. The entire pass rush has been much improved, and he's been the biggest reason why. 3rd and 9 from the 39. Hurts looks to throw it up the middle, and it's dropped! Lou Nichols had a wide open first down, but he blatantly dropped the ball. There's not much else to say there. And so Denver gets it back, looking to add to the lead before half. Only 3 offensive points so far. That's got to change as Whaley loses a couple of yards. That'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. 2nd and 12 from just the 15-yard line for Denver. Nix looks to throw it up the middle. Short pass caught. Troy Franklin nearly gets the first down. We've got to keep moving quickly. 3rd and inches. Javonte Williams with a first down to the left side, and he will run out of bounds, stopping the clock. We really just wanted to run the ball up the middle and ensure we got the first down, but with all that space, he's going to get out of bounds and save some time. Whaley does not get out of bounds, though, on that play. Darius Slay with a great tackle, and Denver's going to have to burn a timeout. They do get the first down, though, and now have it past the 50 as Nix is sacked. Devin White, Dragons legend, brings him down, and it's 2nd and 19 after going no huddle, as that one is caught for a first down by Josh Reynolds. Great throw by Bo Nix, threading the needle, and Reynolds is out of bounds, stopping the clock for the conversion. For the 32, Nix is sacked again. Jalen Carter brings him down, and this time we're going to call time. The offensive line continuing to struggle as on 2nd down. Nix hopes to get lucky towards the sidelines again, but he's unsuccessful. Good coverage by C.J. Taylor, the rookie out of Vanderbilt. That probably should have been a defensive pass interference, though. I saw a lot of contact. Up the middle, dropped on 3rd down. I just wanted a short gain there to get closer to field goal range. Wasn't successful, and now it's a 56-yarder for Lutz. The kick is short. It's no good, but we have a flag. Roughing the kicker against Philadelphia, and that gives our offense new life. An automatic first down. Cooper DeJean called for the penalty, and now we have it at the 24-yard line, resetting the downs. First play of this new drive, if you will. It's Tez Johnson, gets a block, and he is gone! It's a Denver Bronco touchdown for the rookie out of Oregon. The brotherly connection strikes once again, and the roughing the kicker penalty by Cooper DeJean ends up being at least a 7-point swing. We missed the kick, so the Eagles would have gotten good field position. And obviously, the big thing being that we get a new drive, we score a touchdown, and it's a 14-point lead. Eagles looking to get something quick before the end of the half, but that won't help. Big hit by Marvin Grant on 2nd down. The the rookie out of Kansas. And that'll now make it a 3rd and 4 for the Eagles. They called a timeout there. They're still going to try to score. And they get it over to, it looks like Terry McLaurin, who brings it to the 43-yard line. They're going to call a timeout here and bring out the field goal unit. It's a 60-yarder for Jake Elliott. He's got a long list of kicks throughout his career from this range as Denver calls a timeout to ice him. Tez Johnson back deep if needed. Elliott from 60. Got it! And the Eagles add some points to the board, some much-needed points with this first half wrapped up. 17-6, Denver with the lead. I don't think we've played outstanding or anything, but the Eagles made a lot of mistakes, from the 2 interceptions by Hurts, from the dropped passes, to obviously the roughing the kicker. And we've done a really good job of capitalizing and scoring off of those mistakes. As we take a look at our halftime report around the rest of the league, we will start off in Pittsburgh. The highlight for this game is a field goal, specifically one that goes off of the camera and in. The reason why that's our highlight is because, well, there's nothing else to show. 6-3. Both Quinn Ewers and Jalen Daniels haven't been all that good. Daniels and Devin Neal have both really hit the rookie wall after hot starts to their rookie seasons. In the ATL, Bucks and the Falcons, Michael Penix with an absolute dime. The deep ball, probably the best part of his game. It's a 62-yarder for Darnell Mooney. Atlanta leads big early over the Bucks, 17-3. Big play there by Mooney, but the top receiver for Atlanta this year has been the 29th pick in this year's draft, Trayshawn Holden out of Oregon, who is 2nd in the NFL in receiving, only behind Jamar Chase. And last but not least, we'll take a look at the other NFC South opponents, Carolina and New Orleans, in a dogfight in the Big Easy. Carolina started this game off really strong, up 14-0 early with this impressive touchdown run by Jonathan Brooks, the second-year running back out of Texas. But the Saints have clawed back into it, and we've got ourselves a good one. 17-14, featuring a late touchdown by Kansas legend Lawrence Arnold. Great performance from Carson Beck, 14 of 15 for 2 scores. Bryce Young continuing his very strong season as well. Carolina 6-3, currently atop what has been a very competitive NFC South division. As we move into the second half, I get that we're up by 11. We have a lot of points, but the offense has been kind of shaky. As we look at our 2 touchdowns, one of them was a defensive score, and the other one we only got because of the Cooper DeJean penalty. We still need the offense to play better. The defense, though, has been absolutely terrific. Hopefully that continues as we start the third quarter with a big run for the rookie, Harrison Whaley, to the 39-yard line. He had the one really bad third down drop earlier in this game, but otherwise, Whaley's playing really well, which is good to see. Following play now from the 39, it's Javonte Williams to the right side. Williams with space, stiff arm slay, and gets it past the 50. Javonte Williams looks good here in his first game back. He looks energized and strong as Nix is going to run with it. Scrambles for a first down to the 29-yard line. You see, when you give Bo Nix time to throw the ball, good things happen. And now Denver's got it in the red zone for the 16-yard line. Nix looks to throw it. He's going to go up the middle. Greg, what are you doing? That ball was for Troy Franklin, who was wide open in the end zone. Would have been a touchdown, but instead it's incomplete. Thanks, Greg. 3rd and 15. Tough pass. Hauled in for a first down by Marvin Mims with good coverage by Quinyon Mitchell. This time, Mims gets a one-way ticket out of Guantanamo Bay. On 3rd and goal, Javonte Williams shrugs off the hit from the rookie C.J. Taylor, and that'll go for a rushing touchdown. Denver adds to the lead. It is now 24-6. That's the type of drive I was looking for out of the offense. Good runs, good passes, and now the Eagles are starting to feel a little bit desperate. Nice catch, though, for a first down by Devontae Smith as he brings it past the 50 to the 46. Overall, though, the Eagles' offense does not look great. They have really missed Saquon Barkley, and with him out for the year, it's not like they're going to get him back next week. They need to get used to life without him. Hurts is sacked on the play. It's Nick Bonito. 7.5 sacks, I believe, on the year for Bonito. It might be more at this point. I've lost count as he wins the rep with a ferocious spin move on Jordan Mailata, the Pro Bowler. Screen on 3rd down for Devontae Smith. He gets around 5, wrapped up by Chris Abrams' drain. And with under a minute to go in the third quarter, the Eagles would ultimately elect to punt the ball. Denver gets it back, 24-6, a commanding lead late in the third. Nick's under pressure, trying to get something out of nothing, but Nolan Smith catches him at the 5. Big play there for Smith. That'll wrap up what was otherwise a strong third quarter. An impressive opening drive by the offense. The defense continuing to ball out. Nick Bonito continues to be an absolute animal. We lead pretty comfortably here going into the fourth quarter, but I don't want to take the pedal off the metal. I've seen what happened in the Kansas series, and I do not want that to replicate. Nick's hit as he throws on third down, gets it to Mims, who gets it to the 16-yard line. Good pressure by Jalen Carter. He has had himself an impressive afternoon. That'll lead to a punt, and the Eagles get it back. Nichols in motion, Hurts by himself in the backfield on first down as Nichols catches it out wide and takes a shot from Brandon Jones. The last thing the Eagles needed for him to get hurt, because then they'd have to go to their fullback, Alex Arma, and then after that, I don't know what they would do. Maybe Jalen Hurts plays running back. From the 44 up the middle, there's a nice throw. It's Dallas Goedert, the veteran tight end, who gets it to the 22-yard line. Really nice play after the catch. And finally, the Eagles are getting something going on offense. It only took them the entire game. From the 22, Hurts goes short for Nichols, breaks the tackle, but loses a yard. Chris Abrams drained with the initial hit. Jones finishes him off as Lane Johnson is banged up, the stalwart and potential Hall of Famer at right tackle. 3rd and 11, here's Hurts looking, end zone, broken up for Patrick Surtain, who has had a great day covering A.J. Brown. He has been a non-factor, and the Eagles are going to kick from the 23-yard line. It's Jake Elliott, 40-yarder, blocked! Savon Revel, the rookie from East Carolina, his second consecutive week with a blocked kick. Revel's made some good plays defensively this year, and he is turning into a special teams star. Back-to-back weeks with blocked field goals. Remains 24-6 as Javonte Williams does not get the conversion on third down. Wrapped up by a multitude of... What is going on there with Bryce Huff? Okay, I don't know what that was, but 4th and inches, we will go for it at the 39. Risky play, and it works. A big run for Estime. We only needed a couple yards, but he ended up getting like 16. Good run there for Roderick Estime with some words for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Typical Chauncey Gardner-Johnson yapping away. As Nix is incomplete on third down, the pressure there too much to handle. And that'll lead to a punt as the Eagles get it back. 4.5 minutes to go, down by 18. Going to be an uphill battle for Jalen Hurts and company, but they're going to try as Dallas Goedert gets it to the 43 for a strong first down conversion. They know that time is of the essence, and there's got to be a real sense of urgency on this drive, as it's Mitchell Evans, the rookie out of Notre Dame, with a nice play to the 34-yard line. And Baron Browning is hurt. That is not good. Going to the locker room. He's such a huge piece of this defense, even though the sack number for him this year isn't that high. He has been really, really important to this group, and him being hurt is a big deal. We're going to need everybody to step up, including this guy, Mykel Williams, his second sack of the game. From the 41 on 2nd and 17, what a catch! A.J. Brown to the 5, my goodness, as Lane Johnson is banged up again. Still a ridiculous play, though, by Brown, and now it's 1st and goal. Hurts under pressure, off the blitz! Wrapped up by the rookie, Jeffrey Bussa. 2nd and goal, under more pressure, sacked again. Take a guess. Nick Bonito with his 2nd sack of the game. 5th overall for the Denver defense, and the 3rd of this drive. Bussa in the backfield as well with pressure. And now it's 3rd and goal from the 21 after a pair of sacks. Possibly the final play before that 2-minute warning. Another blitz and another sack! Brian Asamoah brings him down. The Eagles had 1st and goal at the 5. Now it's 4th and goal at the 33 with 3 consecutive sacks. And they will go for it here at the 2-minute warning. Denver in full prevent defense. Hurts is just going to go short, and it's dropped. Lou Nichols cannot hang on, and that will do it. 24-6. A strong victory here for the Denver Broncos, going on the road, beating the Eagles by 3 possessions. Don't look now, folks. The Broncos have won 3 in a row, have matched last season's win total, and are now 500. This was far from a perfect game. I still see significant concerns on the offensive side of the football, and this team is still very clearly broken offensively. But as bad as the offense is, this defense is turning into one of the best in the league. Last year, our defense sucked. This year, the defense is terrific. And yes, the Eagles had no run game, no Saquon Barkley, no Will Shipley, but still, our defense has been on a heater for a while. Bo Nix did what he could. He wasn't perfect, but his offensive line and his receivers did him no favors, per usual. Jalen Hurts was okay. He had the 2 interceptions, but otherwise he was fine. I thought we ran the ball well. Good to see Javonte Williams back. He had a nice day. Whaley with some good plays as well through the air. Marvin Mims had a nice afternoon. Good to see him back. Tez Johnson, of course, with the touchdown. But otherwise, we had a number of drops. The other receivers weren't great. The offensive line was not great, but the defense was. Nick Benito is a total superstar. Michael Williams has been balling. Jeffrey Bossa's coming into his own. Now, of course, we are going to be without Baron Brown, and he ended up tearing his labrum and will miss the next 4 games. That's a huge deal. He has been so valuable to this defense, and as I said, the sack numbers aren't that crazy. He sits at 4.5 right now, but his consistent pressure, his ability in the run game, we need him out there, and with him injured, we're going to be calling on Nick Benito more than ever. Michael Williams is going to have to continue to step up, and I'm very confident that both of them will, given what we've seen from them over the course of this year. My goodness, the Jets suck. 34-7 losing to the Dolphins. They are 1-10. Can't say I'm complaining. Players of the week, Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, Joey Bosa, and Alex Highsmith. Into Week 12, double trouble in the next episode, facing off against a New England team firmly in the mix for the postseason. They lead the AFC East after finishing with the worst record in the league last year. If we win this game, we are fully alive in the AFC playoff picture. And then we're going to face off against the Raiders, a team who beat us earlier in the year. The Raiders are a good team, but they are on a skid. They've been cold. Their rookies, as I mentioned, have hit the wall. And it'll be interesting to see if they're able to escape the rookie wall and put themselves back into playoff contention. Hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.